Hey everyone, how's your day going? Whether it's been good or rough, you're not alone. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the world of mystery together. Alright, so listen. I'm not one to jump to conclusions or scare easily. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I sure as hell don't believe in ghost stories. But what happened to me last New Year's Eve? That was real. I live in a small southern town where the backroads are pitch black at night. No streetlights, no houses, just miles and miles of trees pressing in on both sides. Every year, my best friend Ryan throws a New Year's Eve party at his family's place. They live in one of those secluded, fancy neighborhoods where the only way in or out is through a long, winding country road. And that's where it all started. That night, I was driving alone. The cold had come in suddenly that week, sharp enough to bite through my jacket. I was about 10 minutes from Ryan's house when I saw her. She appeared in my headlights out of nowhere. A woman, standing at the edge of the road. She was wearing a long, white dress, the kind that looked almost bridal. Her back was to the trees, and she was completely still. I told myself she was probably just some lost traveler. But the more I looked at her, the more something felt off. She wasn't shivering, wasn't moving at all. I kept driving, and then, out of stupid curiosity, I glanced at my rearview mirror. She had turned around. She was watching me. I made it to Ryan's house and tried to shake it off. Maybe she was just waiting for someone? Maybe I was overthinking it? The party was in full swing, filled with music, drinks, and people laughing. It should have made me feel safer, but I couldn't get her out of my head. By the time I left at 1 a.m., my car was the only one left in the driveway. I turned the key. My dashboard lit up. Low tire pressure warning. Great, I muttered, but I figured it was just the cold messing with the sensors. I didn't want to take the long way home. I should have. A few minutes into the drive, I knew something was wrong. There was a weird scraping noise coming from under my car. At first, I thought it was just gravel on the road, but the sound grew louder, a harsh, metallic dragging. I pulled over, stepped out, and shined my phone flashlight at my tires. My stomach dropped. All 4 tires were completely shredded. Not flat, not punctured, torn apart, like something with claws had ripped through the rubber. And then, from somewhere in the woods, a voice whispered, "I see you." I froze. The voice was soft, almost playful. I turned my flashlight toward the trees. And there she was, standing just beyond the tree line. She looked pale as a corpse, her long, tangled hair draping over her face. But the worst part? Half of her jaw was missing. Yet somehow she was still smiling. She tilted her head slightly and whispered again, "Can you see me?" That was enough. I ran. Behind me, I could hear leaves crunching, branches snapping. She was chasing me. I didn't dare turn around. I just kept running, heart pounding, legs burning. By some miracle, I reached Ryan's house and pounded on the door. His mom answered, pulling me inside just as I collapsed onto the floor. Ryan's parents called the cops. They said they'd check the area, but honestly, I didn't care. I just wanted to forget. They let me crash in their guest room for the night. I was too wired to sleep. My hands were still shaking, my mind racing. And then at 3:14 a.m. Tap, tap, tap. A soft knock on the second floor window. I went completely still. My back was turned to the window. I didn't want to look. Then, just outside the glass. "I see you." I clenched my jaw. I refused to turn. Seconds stretched into minutes. And then, silence. At sunrise, Ryan's dad went outside. He came back pale as a ghost. "There's something outside," he muttered. He led us to the yard. Right below my window, they found a rusty knife. And on the ground, footprints, circling the house. But here's the thing. There were no footprints leaving. The police never found her. They searched the woods, checked the abandoned shack down the road. Nothing. But there were rumors. People talked about a woman in white, a bride who had disappeared decades ago. Some say she still roams the back roads, waiting for someone to see her. And once you do, she never lets you go. That was last year. I still go to Ryan's parties. But now, I never drive alone. And no matter what, I will never take that road again. taken a lot of taxis in my life. Some drivers are chatty. Some are awkward. Some are just quiet. But this one still keeps me up at night. I was 26, flying home after a trip to Seattle. My flight landed late, just past midnight, and by the time I made it out to the ground transportation pickup, it was almost 12:30 a.m. I should have just called an Uber, but the airport was nearly empty, and I was too exhausted to wait. A white sedan with a taxi sign on top pulled up, and the driver rolled down the window. He was thin, in his mid-40s, with deep-set eyes, hollow cheeks, and a grin that stretched a little too wide. Need a ride? I hesitated for a second. Something about him felt off, but I was tired, cold, and my apartment was only 30 minutes away. Yeah, sure. Big mistake. The second I closed the door, I regretted it. The inside of the car smelled off like stale air mixed with something faintly metallic. The radio was off. No GPS screen was visible. I placed my bag beside me and realized I wasn't sitting directly behind the driver. I was diagonal from him, meaning he could see me clearly in the rearview mirror. As the car pulled onto the highway, the silence became suffocating. Then he finally spoke. So, coming from Seattle? Yeah. I kept my answer short. Vacation? Visiting a friend. He let out a low chuckle, barely audible. A girl like you, traveling alone? That's dangerous, don't you think? I froze for a second. My fingers tightened around my phone. Well, I wasn't alone, I lied. My boyfriend was with me. His grin widened slightly, but his hands tightened on the wheel. Boyfriend, huh? Then, after a pause, what's his name? My stomach twisted. Why would he ask that? Jake, I answered quickly. His fingers drummed against the steering wheel like he was thinking. Jake, huh? He let you fly alone. I forced a laugh, pretending to text. That's when I saw it. The GPS screen was turned off, and then he missed my exit. Hey, that was my turn, I said, sitting up. No response. You need to take the next one, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Still, he didn't even slow down. That's when I knew. He never put in my address. My pulse skyrocketed. I quickly sent my location to my sister, adding one short message. Call me. Now. No response. The driver's eyes flicked to the mirror, watching me. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, just letting my boyfriend know I'm almost home, I lied. Something in my answer annoyed him. Then, I heard the doors lock. I panicked. I glanced outside, the road ahead was empty. Then, in the distance, I saw a red light. And parked nearby? A police car. I didn't think. I just acted. I yanked the door handle locked. Hey, what the hell are you doing? I slammed my elbow into the lock switch, flung the door open, and jumped out. I hit the pavement hard, nearly rolling, but I sprinted toward the cop car. The taxi driver sped off before I could even turn around. The moment I stepped into my apartment, I locked the door, triple-checked it, and collapsed onto my bed. My heart was still hammering against my chest. My escape felt almost too easy, like something wasn't finished yet. I kept replaying the ride in my head. The driver's grin in the mirror. The way he locked the doors without a word. The way his fingers tightened on the wheel when I mentioned my boyfriend. It was as if I had interrupted something he had planned carefully. I told myself I was just shaken up, that I was safe now. I turned off my phone and curled up under the blankets, waiting for sleep to come. Then, at 3:07 a.m., there was a knock at my door. Soft, slow, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. My mind immediately went to the worst possible thought. It's him. I reached for my phone, fumbling to turn it on. My fingers felt numb, trembling as I unlocked the screen. I checked my apartment's smart camera notifications. Nothing. There was no motion detected. No alerts. Yet I had heard the knock clearly. Then, another knock. Louder this time. I held my breath, creeping toward the peephole as silently as I could. Every step felt too loud, my heartbeat practically echoing in my ears. I peered through the tiny lens, expecting to see him standing there, maybe with that eerie smile again. But there was no one there. Another knock. This time from my window. I whipped around so fast my head spun. My window had no blinds, just thin curtains barely blocking out the city lights. My apartment was on the second floor. No one should be able to reach it. But then, a shadow moved past the glass. I stumbled backward, my body locking up in sheer terror. Someone was outside my window. But how? My apartment complex wasn't built next to another building. There was no balcony, no fire escape, just a straight drop to the parking lot below. Yet, in the dim glow of the streetlights, I saw a dark silhouette lingering outside the glass. And then, a whisper. So quiet, I almost didn't hear it. "I see you." I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Not out the front door. What if he was still standing there? Instead, I darted into my bathroom, locking the door behind me. My breathing was shallow, fast, too fast. My head spun with panic. I pressed my back against the wall, gripping my phone like it was a lifeline. My fingers moved clumsily as I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone outside my apartment. And I think my voice caught in my throat. I heard something. A noise inside my apartment. A faint creak of the floorboards. Someone was inside. I slapped a hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. "Miss? Are you still there?" the dispatcher asked. I forced myself to whisper. "He's inside. Someone's inside my apartment." I heard movement. A slow, deliberate shuffle. Like someone didn't want to be heard but had just slipped up. I wasn't alone. I clutched the phone to my chest, trying to listen over the pounding of my heartbeat. The silence stretched too long. Then, a voice. "I wasn't going to hurt you." The words sent an icy wave of dread through me. It was right outside the bathroom door. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing myself to breathe quietly. My mind raced. There's no way out. The only exit is through the front door. He's between me and the only way out. The dispatcher was still on the line, telling me to stay calm, stay hidden. But how long? Then I heard it. A soft rustling sound like fabric against wood. My closet. Whoever was inside had been hiding there the whole time. I had been in the apartment with him. I don't remember making the decision to move, I just did. I lunged for the bathroom door, twisting the lock open as fast as I could and ran for the front door. I heard footsteps behind me, fast and heavy. I grabbed the door handle, yanked it open, and practically threw myself into the hallway. The last thing I saw before slamming the door shut behind me. A hand reaching around the bathroom doorway. I ran straight to my neighbor Elliot's apartment, banging on his door like my life depended on it. He opened it within seconds, his face pale with confusion. "What the hell, eh? Call the cops." I screamed. I couldn't form a single coherent sentence, but he understood. We locked the door and waited. When the police arrived, they searched my apartment. The front door had still been locked from the inside, but the back sliding door was wide open. It led to the shared garden area behind the building, but there were no footprints. It had rained earlier that evening, the ground was still soft, muddy. If someone had run through there, the police would have seen tracks. But there was nothing, like no one had ever been there. That was 2 years ago. I still don't take random taxis. I never ignore my gut instincts. And if a stranger ever asks me for my boyfriend's name again, I'll lie faster, but sometimes late at night, when I'm alone in my apartment, I still hear it, a faint whisper. "I wasn't going to hurt you." And I wonder, was he ever really gone?